Welcome. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on another episode of Starseed Activations. So we are just totally going to start with our handy Starseed Oracle. And so we're going to pull a card. This way we give everybody a chance to join us. Okay. Hi, Scott. Welcome. Yes. Thank you for coming, Scott. I have you down for a session, too. So I sent you all the links. You should have them in your email. And then I will definitely see you on the Attachment Masterclass this Saturday. That's going to be a whole lot of fun. And so there's so much information that came across about attachments over the past. It's like download after download, all about attachments, how to release them. Now I see them when I go into public. I can sense people around me and what attachments they have. And so a lot of times I mumble under my breath and I'm like, get off, go home, right? Because I'm trying to clear them but I don't want them to hear me because they're going to be like, oh, you're crazy. So it's very interesting, the path that your life leads. Caroline, welcome, honey. Okay, so we have the blue flame. This is the card. The blue flame. So this is the one we picked. It's a really pretty card. Let's see what it says. Spontaneous awakening, activation, integration time. And so what is it when we start to release these attachments? It is a form of activation because when we are able to fully release any and all attachments that are latched onto our energetic grids, it actually changes our behavior patterns in the now moment. And so I know this firsthand because I can see it in my own life and I see what attachments that I released and then I see how it affected my behavior. Now, the star people, they have the ability to pull at your memory grid. And so when I tell you guys it's a grid, it's a total grid. It's 1,000%. It's a grid. It feels like the meridian lines and the ley lines, and then they pull on it. So you're feeling this grid, but it actually pulls your biological form when they do this. So your body feels like this tension in that area when they pull at it. At the same time as they're pulling at it, you're getting, it's like a whooshy whoosh of all of these memories that you have experienced. For example, anytime I've ever had an iced coffee from Dunkin' Donuts, they whooshed and they showed me every single episode or every single experience I had driving through the drive-thru. And it was like in the blink of an eye, a million different times because I used to go all the time. Can attachments show up as headaches? Absolutely. And so many times what you want to do to clear an attachment off of you is you want to just take a deep breath in and release. You want to get into like a half of a meditation state. And so now the star people are stepping forward. They're always saying, we're supposed to call upon your angels, your guides. You can generate a vortex energetic in the room. This is very important when we start dealing with attachments. I didn't take it like serious in the beginning. I was like, whatever, I'm protected. And yeah, no, you have to kind of take it seriously. And so I had one episode where I was doing an attachment removal with a person. And then all of a sudden the session was over and I was like, thanks guys, right, I'm out of here. And I opened the door to this room and I walked down the hallway and all of a sudden all the people in my house got triggered. And so we are supposed to, if you can open a window and clear all the attachments out there, or you can generate a vortex in your space and ask the angels to take the attachments and remove them. So it's completely wild how this works. I never in a million years. And who would have known that the attachments, they hop through the phones because they were in my room. Like I can't see them, but the star people are like, oh, the attachments are here. Like it just happened. So it's wild. We have to generate a vortex. We have to allow the angels to take the attachment and put them into the underworld because they come from a frequency which is a lower frequency than what we can see. And so it's here, it's encoded on top of our physical reality. We just can't see them. And so what they do is they just take them and they put them into the other frequency through a void. A void and a vortex is the same exact frequency. It's directly connected into the source frequency, but it's coming down and it's going in like a spiral, like a spring. And so it goes through your body, but it goes through the entire physical world that we see and we sense. So these beings, these attachments, they come from below our frequency range. There was actually a catastrophe, you could call it, on Earth, in which it cracked a hole through the density and it allowed these beings to slip up here. Now, there's lots of speculations that CERN is working with that frequency range. And so when they start to tune into different frequencies, then all of a sudden, if there's any dark entities in different lower dimensions or densities, the star people are saying, it will allow those beings to slip through the crack. However, we're more powerful than them. And so the attachments, now just imagine they're latched onto your energetic grids. The second you tell it to get off, it has to leave. It's your emotion that casts it off. So if you're holding a really deep emotion to whatever that it's feeding on, it's going to be allowed to continuously feed off of you. So you have to go in, you have to heal the emotion code. All of this information we're going to go over in this Saturday's Master Attachment class. Attachment Masterclass. I said it totally backwards. So we do still have some seats left for that. So there's still some seats left for that. So you guys can go to daniellelipton.com and get your space. It's over a Zoom, so it is private. So what are your thoughts on people who get headaches from sage or just can't stand? So sage is funny, and candles work the same way because you're using the fire elemental. If somebody has an attachment and you light a sage near them, the end of the sage will go pop. And it will like throw the fire at the person. That's how you know that they have something dark on them. Now, also, and I know this because when I do the attachment clearings, I go into a saltwater bath. And so I've been telling you guys this for a while now. But when I light the candle, there was one time it popped. Now, it was so weird too, because right before I did one person's clearing with the attachments, I felt the entity like did not want me to even like did not want me to even touch her, did not even want me to pick up the phone. And I was like, not happening. So I went outside right away and I saged the entire house. It's just wild because, like, you know, to some point you can't see these things and you're like, oh man, they can't be real, right? Maybe it's just in the energy, right? But no, they're real. I feel them. I sense them. I've sensed them ever since I was a kid. I just had no idea what they were. And so anytime I've gone into a doctor's office, after sitting in the actual doctor's office room, like the room would start spinning ever so slightly. It wasn't like a full-blown spin. And I used to just chalk it up. I'm like, maybe I have what is that? Claustrophobia. It's like a white room, like maybe a tiny little room. So, but that's what I felt. But then I felt it once when I was actually with my brother-in-law. That's who he was. I was thinking I was going to call him my nephew because he's younger than me. I was with my brother-in-law. We went into a church because we were taking him to some sort of meeting. And while I was in the church basement, I felt density, darkness. And so you just knew that there was darkness in the room. And so at the same exact time, it was me and two other girls. All three of us got out and we all had to leave. And we were like, I feel sick in the church basement. So a lot of times when you see people who are doing any type of chemical abuse, like drugs, right? There's a whole range of really, really dark attachments that latch onto them. And so this is another reason why they go through withdrawals, because that darkness, that attachment, it triggers them. So anybody going through any type of like recovery process, you guys should all be doing attachment removals. Actually, maybe I should go donate my services and do it we have a rehab house like a couple blocks from my house. So maybe I can offer my services and do attachment removals for those guys. See if it'll help heal them faster. Right? It's just an option. And so when you start to clear off the attachments, I can sense them. And so it's very easy to tell them to get off, go home. Now, when I was in high school, my friend Sabrina, she had a crazy aunt. And then we had another friend with us, and that friend got sick. And so the crazy aunt could see these things. And so she walks in the room and she went over to my sick friend and she shooed the thing from off his shoulder, but she slid the window open and she told him to get out. And so it was like, now, do you have to open a window to get these things out? Because she could see them. So she knew that they were there. And so, right. And we were all like, oh, she's crazy. But then again, what she said was, she said that the attachment was there to make it so that he wasn't at work. So he didn't get a job promotion. And so when he recovered, he went back to work and all of a sudden he was passed by for a job promotion because he wasn't there. And so at that point, we were all high school kids. And we're like, oh, the crazy aunt, she knew, right? And so that moment has always stood with me. Now, of course, but you never realize because a lot of times you have blinders on. And so you have an experience like that and you shove it in the closet because you're not ready to deal with it. I've had experiences where I've instantaneously manifested stuff. And I just was not ready to admit that that happened. I knew it happened, but I was like, no, I can't believe this right now. And so I pushed it to the side and I didn't want to hear it. But I told my mom about it. And so then my memory was kind of funky. And then all of a sudden I told her about it again. She's like, oh, yeah, you told me about that. So it was kind of like confirmation when I started waking up to the fact that we can instantaneously manifest. Yeah, it's wild. Like if I wrote down all these tiny little things, it's like, oh my God, you've seen so much. And I have. But it's like, we see all this. There was one time my parents, when I was living at their house when I was young, they went out. And so at the time, I did have a fiance. We used to ride motorcycles everywhere. It was a wonderful time to be alive. But no one was with me. I was alone in the house, and my parents went food shopping. And so when my mother came home, she put the key in the door. She opened the door. I was at the top of the stairs, and I was holding a laundry basket or whatever the hell I was doing. And so she looked at me, and she was like, you come outside and help us carry the groceries. And she was angry. And so then I go outside. The second I get outside, she's looking at me and she's like, who the hell is in my house? Right. And things get serious with my mom when, things like that happened when I was a kid. And I was like, there was no one with me. But the entire time I was in the house, I felt like someone was staring at me and I was panicking the entire time. It's kind of like how it feels when the government guy is here. So when he's here, I feel right. And I don't say it every single time because I really don't want to freak you guys out. But I saw him. Like I saw him running down the hallway. Right. He was running from right next to me to out the door. I saw his boots and like there was a logo on his boots. So, when you have that much detail, it's like, oh, crap, Yeah. Who does rescuing missions in the spiritual world? I don't know. But I know the star people, they have, specifically the Arcturians, because I have my star man, my husband. And so after I did a couple of energetic attachment clearings, the one night I was like, my hair is flat ironed. I do not want to get it wet. And so what happened was I went to bed. And so after a half hour of us sitting there talking and stuff, then all of a sudden I was very restless. And like, he called in the medical team and the medical team was like, oh, it's anxiety attachments because you didn't wash your hair. And so that's when they told me, and they even told me that I didn't send the angels home. Mind blown. I was like, who knew that we had to send angels home? Like, can we even do that? We call them in, but we don't thank them and send them home. Right. It's wild. So much information that you learn by having experiences. Now we know all of your face hair, even if you're a woman, you have tiny little hairs, right? Your hair is an antenna. And so the way that it was described to me is like this. Your hair is an antenna for magnetism. And so when you're holding emotions or you're dealing with any dark attachment releases and stuff, we're going through all of these emotions because the attachments are latched on. It's kind of like the attachments, let me say, because I could read a couple of the names to you guys so you can kind of get an idea. So missing pieces is the name of one of the attachments, and it's part of the physical body loss. And so you have missing pieces. You have a missing piece. Like if you lost a tooth or a finger, you have missing pieces, but the attachment's name is missing pieces. And then that attachment latches onto you. So we got to go into each and every one of the chakras and we got to pull apart. We got to call the higher self in. Thank you, higher self, for giving us the name of the attachment. A lot of times we'll just deal with the emotion code. And so if you feel broken, right? I'm broken. Get off, go home. And then if there's an attachment related to that, now I can hear the frequency as people talk. And so this is another thing. I spent time like completely deaf. I couldn't hear anything. I would walk around saying, what did you say? What did you say? What? Like a parrot. And this lasted for like a year, over a year. I don't know why it happened, but then one day my hearing came back on. But what did I learn from the experience? I learned how to read body language very, very well. My in-laws were all Hispanic. And so they used to sit around and they used to have jokes in Spanish. And I don't understand a word in Spanish. I've always been horrible at it, but I would laugh at their punchline. And so what was I doing? I was feeling the frequency of whatever words. This is a form of telepathy. Now, my pineal gland has been set up since birth to be a channel. I had no idea, but I know it because, I just know it for a fact. I'm very sensitive to all psychedelics, including marijuana. And so I smoked marijuana in high school and I was high for 6 months. I even made my mom take me to the doctor and they were like, you're fine. There's nothing wrong with you. And I was like, I'm not fine. I'm stoned for 6 months. So it was just but it completely changed my life because after that, I wouldn't try a single psychedelic ever because I was always paranoid. And there was a ringing in my ear when this happened for 6 months. So it was like, oh, I couldn't hear again. There was another time when it was just like a loud tone. and it just completely overran the hearing ability. Like, it was gone. It was like I hear a tone. And then not only that, but that's when I was able to see the timeline switches. And so the way your timelines are switching, it's a picture with a picture behind a picture and a picture behind. And it goes like this, like, and it's kind of like you're looking at a picture, like it's just coming in at you. So it literally is a hologram. Now, the second that we learn to control the heart rate is the second that we're able to slow the picture or speed it up. So when we talk about trauma frequencies, let's say someone's going to get into a car accident or something, time seems to go slow. This is because there's a flicker rate. So the flicker rate is that picture with the picture behind it. So if you are holding a low frequency of sadness, that flicker rate is going ever so slowly, or the star people are saying you're perceiving it going ever so slowly. And so, but it's totally wild, because the second that you could drop into the heart, you could change that flicker ratio. You could close your eyes. You can do things like visualize. So just imagine for 1 second, time and space isn't real. If we are able to drop into the heart and we are able to change the way time flows. So let's say, for an example, you planned a trip. I'm in Pennsylvania. Let's say I plan to go to the Bahamas. And so all of a sudden, I know it's going to take me X amount of time to get to the Bahamas, right? So point A to point B. Now, all of a sudden, I can close my eyes because time space isn't real. I can go into time space, and I can change the time space frequency so that I've already made the trip and I open my eyes and I'm in the Bahamas. That's how this works. That's how powerful we actually are. Now, we have people on the planet who are already doing this now. They're already doing this. And so there was a man who beamed himself to the beach, and he came back, and his wife yelled at him and was like, where the hell were you? She didn't believe him, right? But then all of a sudden, they swept up the sand that it was on his feet, and then it ended up on our kitchen floor, and they sent it to a lab, and the lab confirmed that he was like in the Bahamas on a beach. So this is a part of instantaneous teleportation. Now, the way that we start to access this gift is simple. You start by taking a car trip. And so you have point A to point B. From my generation, we used to play Let's Race the GPS. And so it was like a badge of honor. Like, the GPS said, I'm going to be there at 7:30. I'm going to make it there at 7:20. But in our minds, being physically focused, we always perceived it to be we're just going faster so that we're just beating it because we're speeding. That's how kids think. Now we know it's not always the case, because what if I don't have to go faster? What happens if I do 65 the entire trip, but I'm really, really happy? Then all of a sudden, we can remove a certain amount of time space and we can still make it there 10 minutes early. Now, I personally, we've knocked 45 to an hour off of our car ride. And so we left, let's say this is exactly what happened. It was us and a second car, and we were 45 minutes from the destination. We both drove 65 miles an hour. No one was speeding. And so the first car, they went directly home. We stopped at Dunkin' Donuts. We had iced coffee. We ate everything. We sat there, and then all of a sudden, it was like 20 minutes, 30 minutes by the time you get your food and you eat and you're hanging out and you're just chilling and you smoke a cigarette before you get back in the car. That cigarette cost 7 minutes, by the way. So it's like 27 minutes, figure about. Then all of a sudden, we got in the car and we drove all the way to the location. And so we made it there at the same exact time as the first car. They drove straight from the place, straight home. We had an extra half hour that we putzed around and we did whatever we wanted. So you see, now, if we're able to have an experience like that, not only that, but I was in Dunkin' Donuts one night and I had $3 wrapped in a receipt. So I know for a fact it was $3 because the receipt said I had $3 in change. The change I put somewhere in my pocket, it was missing. It's coins. And so when I went to Dunkin' Donuts, I had a $100 bill and I had 3 singles wrapped in a receipt. The man is New York, and it was like 3:00 in the morning. We were doing Uber. And so the man was like, I'm not taking the 100. It's not happening. But he had already made my eggs. My coffee was already done. Like, there had to be a way to pay for this. We didn't have any cash on the cards, nothing. And so all of a sudden, I went to unfold the $3 from the receipt and put them on the counter so he could see, look, I have 3 singles and I have this 100, hoping he would take the 100. And so the 3 singles turned into a 10 and 2 singles. And I was like, oh my God, right? And I thought the bill was $12. It was an old register, so it looked like 12. And so then the man points at the register. He's like, it's 16. And I was like, this is all I have. Like, and I kept telling him I don't have it. I kept saying it over and over again. So the power of the voice, right? The voice controls. In this situation, it was opposite. So I spread out the 10 and the 2 singles, and it turned into a 10, a 5, and a single. The Dunkin' Donuts man's eyes like bugged out of his head. And he was like, how did you do that? And I was like, I have no idea. But I knew what I had done. And so I started jumping for joy because now all I had to do was run out to the car and get the change. The change was like 60 cents. So to have an experience like that and to actually see something instantaneously manifest in my hands as I'm telling someone, no, I don't have it, right? It was just absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. So I'll never forget the experience. So now anytime that, and you know what that also taught me? It taught me that when we're driving around, we were doing Uber, right? So it was like no money. We do an Uber ride, and then we had money on the card. So it was like, if we don't have gas, we do an Uber ride, we get the money, we do the card, bam, right? And so this is where we were in 2019. It was amazing, but it was teaching us how to instantaneously manifest. So back in that day, it was like if we had our last $10 on us and there was a homeless man who stopped us for money, we were giving it to him because it had trained us that we should believe that we will always have the money. And it was always there. And not only that, but the way my path unfolded, you could tell it was like divinely protected. Like the universe took me from a really, really toxic situation in which I was useless, completely useless, crippled, couldn't walk. It was a mess. It was a nightmare. And then even the star people, like they had to pick me up and put me somewhere for me to go through a healing process. And then after that process, they put me up my mountain where I am now. So it's just been an absolute beautiful journey of healing. And so even though here it is, it's almost 4 years from now, I still know that, yeah, there's still things that I could be healing, right? And there's still things that each and every one of us could be healing. So even if it's 4 years, and even if you feel amazing, and even if you have the most best day ever, right? And so that's something I say all the time. Today's the best day ever because it's an affirmation. So even if we're having the best day ever constantly, we go through these solar energetic shifts. Let me tell you something. We had earthquakes happening on the planet in multiple locations. Turkey, Palestine, upstate Buffalo, New York. And there was something else happening. I think California had like a road collapse or something. Something was going on. But I felt all that density. And then I started talking to everyone on my messages and the comments and the Facebook because I can see multiple people from my perspective. I talk to thousands of people, right? You guys we're part of a community at this point. I go right down the list and I message everybody. And so now I have a WhatsApp. I started this morning because I'm like, I want to be able to message you guys and let you know when I'm going live. So if you guys go to my Facebook, DanielleLipton.com or TreeOfLifeOrganization.com, you'll find the link to my WhatsApp so you can join that community, right? It's a whole messaging service so that I can 1, 2, 3, pop, I'm going live. Here's the time, right? Or we're having a class. This way it's more direct. And so, no, it wasn't a pole shift. But what happened is we went to a full moon and the zodiac alignment along with solar energy. So if we take a look at the Schumann resonance, the solar energetic, that's what you want to check for. So a lot of times when we go through density release, it's always in alignment with the full moon. The full moon pulses us. It actually triggers our energetics to release crazy. And so I call it crazy because look at all the crime, the accidents, all that stuff that happens on a full moon. The police know about this. Oh, see, and there was a comment. Yeah, all of these things are part of the evolutionary process. They've all been foretold as well. And so they did say when you see all the volcanoes going off, that means that the solar flash is very close. We already seen that. That happened like a year ago. All these different volcanoes are going off at once. And so think about it this way. Now, in 2019, and I know because I talked to you guys, but many of you guys went through a complete shift in polarity in 2019. There was an alignment in place that activated the star seeds. It was many of us, it wasn't all of us, but many of us who held certain deep frequencies, right? And so we shifted polarity during 2019. And when that happened, now all of a sudden, it's starting us on the more positive polarity in which we start healing ourselves. We start becoming more aware of spiritual topics. We start talking about really deep, even this conversation is deep. If you would have told me 4 or 5 years ago that we would be sitting here having a conversation like this about evolution and how we're here to save the planet, I would have been like, you're crazy. But now I know it's a fact and I see it. Yeah, so you cried 2 days, your emotions were all over. I got pulsed. I felt it. It was like, and then not only that, it's a cycle. And that cycle comes up. Now, some people did smooth sail the cycle because they were all happy and bubbly. But that doesn't mean that those people don't have things to heal. It's okay. It just means whatever frequency that we were getting hit with, it didn't trigger them yet. They'll get triggered on their own time when their higher self is ready for them to go through a leveling up. Every single time that we get triggered and we start going through the shadow work, or we feel sad, or we just want to lay in bed, any of these emotions, anytime that happens to us, we're releasing, and then we're going to allow new frequencies in our grids. And so we just went through this release, all the earthquakes, all this stuff happened. And I sent love and light, right? And we hold so much love, and we hold space for all the people who got hurt. Like, I don't like seeing things like this. So I really want to make it known. You send love and light. And then if you could just drop into a meditation, even after the video, and just send them extra love and just thank the universe for blessing them all. A lot of people got buried. And so TikTok was showing me pictures of kids. I can't watch things like that because it's heartbreaking. And so pictures of kids getting dug out of the building, it's a nightmare over there. So yeah, and their whole, like, Turkey, that whole place got wiped. So it's absolutely horrible. I mean, we send them love and light. And when you hold your meditation, if you could just imagine and visualize them rebuilding with high technology. And so this way it gets built quicker. So, but yeah, I felt all that, and now all of a sudden here it is, and that energy is shifting out. So it's kind of like, imagine a bubble coming up to the surface and then releasing, and then it allows the energetic to clear. Now we're starting to see the energetic clear. So it changed, right? And so what did it do? It changed the planet. It changed the people over there. We've been changed because we released. We do the shadow work. We dive in deep. And now all of a sudden in my personal life, now I'm starting new things. And so I knew, and some things were delayed. So the star people will even delay me. Like, there's like a conscious, the conscious expo or something like that, where I was going to make videos and put the videos up there too, because they have an app, but I felt like it was delayed. And so now I know, because now after having these types of conversations with the star people, they're like, yeah, that's because you guys were releasing the density. You don't want to start new stuff while you're going through a density release. You want to wait until you're bringing in the new energy. And so today was one of the new energetic days. So now I started the WhatsApp. This way we can start to do text messaging. So it's like a family community. Everyone on there has already gotten comfortable. And what's your name? What's yours? Right? Where are you guys from? So we can all link up together, because there is a separation in the starseeds. And so they spread us out all over the place, figuring that we'll link up online and then we'll eventually meet in real life. And so, but this is one way that we can start doing this. And so, yeah. Oh, every time you say star people, you get crazy goosebumps. See, I actually had one lady who was visited last night. And so she said that the star people came. She saw them. That was her star family. That's what my starman's saying. And they were in the room with her, and they showed her how to heal different body parts. And so if you're holding any pain inside your heart and you close your eyes, you can imagine a white light coming from your hands, and you can send that into the heart chakra and just thank it for rebalancing the energetics, or the vortex, the chakra. And so when you continuously start doing that, you could do it in the shower, because the water actually absorbs into your cells. And when you thank the water of the shower, it raises the frequency of that water, which then absorbs into your skin, and it changes your biological frequency. This is science. This is not woo-woo magic. And so the second that we have a full understanding of how this works, we realize you can scientifically see the chi energy in the body. The chi energy is connected to the Schumann resonance. It's connected to the sun frequency. When we take our feet off, we ground. It starts to rebalance the chi energy. Your magnetic energy, it grounds down. Your higher self is magnetic. Your emotion grid is magnetic. It comes from your heart. Now, there's two chakras in the heart. There's the upper heart and there's the lower heart, which is why we say, I love you from the bottom of my heart, because that's where the higher self chakra is located. So when we fully understand this, we're able to coax this magnetic field down into the heart, and she will flower open just like your pineal gland. And so when you're able to flower open the higher self, she puts you on the highest potential timeline. So it's like having the most fun, most joy, most bliss. Now, when you feel, you can actually feel her flower open. It kind of feels like fingers going out. That's how it feels to me. And so I can feel it because it's kind of like, imagine opening your heart chest and radiating love. If you've ever been in like real love with a person, or like a mother's love, and you feel that love radiating out of your chest, but then all of a sudden it opens like fingers. Like the fingers open. And but that star people say is, this is the flower is opening. It's kind of like a pine cone, he's saying, Starman's saying. So, and it's beautiful because the second that we start to really open up your heart chakra and flower it, or pine cone open it, whatever terminology you guys want to say is fine. It's all the same thing. And so, but it's like a process of remembering, because the second I did it once, I was like, oh, like I felt like I knew that this was here all along. I felt like this is how it used to be when I was a child. And then we go through all this trauma and it shuts it down, which is true. I have experienced a shade in front of my heart. And so many times when you get really, really, really traumatized or hurt, you'll put a wall up in front of your heart. And so people may even call you cold, but that's because your love-based emotions turn off. And so what I used to call it is, at the time, I used to say, oh, I'm disconnecting from the collective consciousness, or I'm taking myself off the grid. I didn't know about the collective consciousness back then. I said, I'm taking myself off the grid, meaning I'm not going to hang out in civilization anymore. I had no idea that that would manifest a heart shade, and I literally cut myself off from love. We can cut ourselves off from the source frequency. However, it's only the emotional frequency of love. Now, you cannot fully cut the cord between you and source, because you and source are one. It's the same thing. Your body is made of ether. It's made of light ions, and that is the source. So each one of us is a fractal of this source frequency. Now, the source frequency can be considered God. It can be considered the universe. It could be considered a frequency wave, right? The Big Bang, there was the word, right? Whatever you guys want, whatever terminology is fine. Yeah. Oh, I know. I was just thinking that my hair is growing really fast. I just brought my kids for a haircut today too. So thank you for saying that. Yeah. Okay. Well, what else was I saying? Sometimes I feel like the comments like totally, I don't know. And I get like, so like, what are we saying? It's like so confusing. Okay. So let's say, what does my list say? Would our guides ever let us fail our mission? This is a really good question. And so this one hits home base, because I kind of felt like the star people were talking to me through this, because it's kind of like, you know, when you feel like you're here for this big mission and then there's something holding you back, would they ever let you fail? We all have free will. And so we have the free will to either make it or break it. I mean, of course, they are going to, you know, go extensively out of their way to see and help you, especially you start families. And many times when I was in my dark days, there were times when I was like, I'm not going to make it. And I had an attachment called At Death's Door. And so that one is when you've had a near-death experience and it latches on, and then the attachment tries to keep killing you. This has been a reoccurring theme for many of my sessions lately, and it's been multiple people. It's not just one. And so whenever we start to see multiple things like that happen, we always want to go in and make sure the emotions from that experience is fully cleared. And so I felt this thing latch onto me at the moment. I felt it, and the whole room shifted, and it felt kind of like the church. And so it made me the church's basement when we were in that darkness, and I felt sick. So I kind of feel like the death attachments, they're the ones. And now what do we see in a doctor's office? People are sick. A lot of them are dying, right? And so they go to a doctor because they don't feel well. And so wham, you know, that's the type of attachments that hang out there. So you really, really want to be very careful and spiritually protect yourself. I have sage and crystals in my car. And so if I go somewhere and I feel creepy crawly, like after I'm there, I'm saging, right? And I like the smell, so it doesn't bother me. If you don't, a lot of times people who don't like the smell of sage, there's multiple sage. So if you try one and you just don't like it, that's fine. But if you try a couple and you don't like them, I would start to question what attachments you're holding on to. And so when I am around people who are very physically focused, and I'll light a sage and right away they run away, or they disappear. They don't want to be around, or they make faith they don't like it. It's like, okay, your attachments don't like it, because this sage is quite nice. It's like a wood chip. It's beautiful. It smells delicious, right? And so we like the smell of fire pits, but you don't like the smell of sage. So I always question what attachments you're holding on to during moments like that. If the sage pops at someone, I know they're holding on to an attachment. If you light the candle and the candle pops, my candle, it threw fire at me. I couldn't believe it. I was like, did I see that? Where it was a tiny, tiny little thing, but it threw it at me. And so I was like, oh, now what happens with fire? And so old shamans and mages, he's saying sages and mages, old ancient people of that nature, they used to use the fire element to cleanse and purify. Now we know what charcoal does to the physical body. It pulls out any and all of your toxins. So once again, a lot of times we use coconut, so they burn coconuts into ash, so it's cleansed and purified by fire. And then when you eat the charcoal, it pulls all the toxins out of your body because it's cleansed and purified by fire. That element burnt it to a crisp. Many times when your house burns down, boom, now all of a sudden you have to start from scratch. So all your physical items got burnt to a crisp, and it allows the energetic to shift, and it allows new items to come in. This is the way it works. And so it's horrible if your house burns down, God forbid, but this is just, I'm just telling you guys, this is how it works. So and this is why I use a candle. Every time I get in a bath after doing any type of spiritual work or even channeling, I'm lighting a candle and I'm checking the candle to see. And always constantly thanking the candle. You can actually too, there's many different ways, because the second that you start tuning into the higher frequencies, you can rub your hands together. This is cool. You can clap 3 times and you can send the candle love. And so some of my candles, they tend to smoke black, right? When I first light them, that's also another sign. And so when you light them and the black smoke comes, when you send it love, it stops the black smoke from happening. And so I kept doing this to the candle because every time I lit it, I'm like, what is all this black smoke? And then I'm like, let me see if I can stop it. And then I sent it love and it stopped right away. So we can control what manifests around us because we're able to project different emotional frequencies. Now, what's actually happening in the physical body is you're triggering an emotion, which is projecting your chi energetic. Your chi energetic is electrical in nature. And so it changes the subatomic particles of the atoms and molecules from a particle to a wave. Or a wave to a particle, star people are saying, because the candle is already a wave. Because it's lit, your consciousness isn't trying to change it at all. But the second that you put your focus on it and you're trying to change it, it makes it a particle. That's your zone of focus, your perception. It changes from a wave state. So think about Mother Earth as well. Mother Earth, she has a frequency wave to her. And so when we go on there and we thank her for healing, it's actually a particle because our consciousness is telling her, thank you for healing us. But let's take an abandoned house. When we see an abandoned house, it's basically being engulfed by Mother Earth's frequency. So nature works like this too. If you don't maintain the bush is going to go back to Mother Earth's frequency and it's going to start to grow all sorts of nature there. And so Mother Earth takes it back. Now, we can see different areas that have been impacted by different weathers, or the people they've left the location. And so there's 0 people in that location, and it starts to break down more rapidly compared to the rest of the civilization. So you can have an abandoned location and it breaks down very rapidly, but the second that somebody lives there, it changes the rate of decomposition, the star people are saying. It means the wick is too long. Nancy, you got to try putting your hands and send that candle up, and you'll see it will shut off. I know. I've sat here and I've done it. It's wild. Now, let me tell you something, too, because if you got to really get deep into the meditation while you're looking at the flame, but you can actually coax the flame up higher and you could turn it down low. And so, of course, the second you do it once, it's like, wow, did I really do that? And you question yourself and you're like, but yeah, it's real. It's very, very true. You can do it. Now, the star people have showed me how to shut off my shivers. And so I used to be a smoker back in 2019. And when I was outside and I was a champion, I was like, the cigarettes are like $12 a pack. I just lit it. I'm going to freeze. We were going to smoke the entire thing. And I was shivering so bad. And then I heard a voice, and it was my starman, but I didn't know him at the time. I didn't know who he was. And so he was like, you don't have to shiver. And then I felt wham, and they shut off all my shivers. And so it was like, oh, I'm not shivering. So we do have the ability to go inside of us and change our biological programs that we have running. And so what is it that's telling you that you're cold? It's a biological response in a holographic simulation. And so when Wim Hof does this too, that man climbs a mountain in flip-flops and shorts and a tank top. How does he do it? Now, what he's doing is a little bit different because he's utilizing breath work to activate his fight or flight systems, which then it allows him to control it. Now, what the star people did for me is they turned it off right away. It's totally mind blown because when it happened, I was like, oh crap, I heard someone and they shut it off. Like there's no denying that. When you have an experience like that, you're like, oh my God, it's crazy, but it's true because I know it. And so it's wild. But it opened the door to, okay, if they can do that in me, then I should be able to do that in me. So how do I do that? And then it makes you start asking questions. Now, the Wim Hof, that works because it was about 2 years ago. I was doing it constantly, but I was doing it constantly because I thought I was dying from smoking too much. So you really shouldn't smoke ciggies. But when I was doing it, I was never cold outside. Now, I also did have Raynaud's disease. It was never diagnosed, but my fingers would turn white when I was out in the cold. And it didn't even have to be cold. It could be like fall cold. And my fingers they would hurt. They were painful. So when I started doing the Wim Hof, that stopped. So it is increasing your oxygen in all of your body. So I've proven that one to me. I like to guinea pig everything. So I like to try it and then I like to see it and how does it work. It does. You really, really can. And like, not only that, but just imagine that you never have to wear a winter coat again. How would that make you feel? Right? We're supposed to be naturally in tune with this planet. The animals are walking around. Yes, they have fur, many of them. Some of them don't though. And so, but they're walking around. Even the cats, we think that the cat it belongs in a house. Some of them don't have fur. Where do they live? And so a lot of times we see the animals out in the nature and, it's wild. So a part of them. Now, not only that, but take a look at a squirrel. And this is just a side note, but a squirrel's perception of time and space is completely different than that of a human's. They are able to they slingshot. Like my kids watched this one. It was it a TikTok or YouTube short, whatever. And the guy put like a slingshot so that the squirrel got slingshot over, and then he did slow motion cameras, and he's like, the squirrel got. It was so funny, right? But then the squirrel was able to turn and rotate, and it's kind of like a cat lands on all four legs. The squirrel was able to do all this acrobatics. So how is he able to do all that in like a split second as he's getting slingshot? That's because they see through time and space totally differently. And so they've showed me too what the fairy realm sees. It's a different time and space. So just imagine that squirrel sees differently. We don't know what the squirrel's actually capable of seeing. That squirrel is going faster than time and space because they're able to make body movements very rapidly during a very fast-paced move. Right? And so those squirrels may potentially be able to see into the fairy realm. Think about it. A lot of times they spend times in the forest. They spend times in nature. The fairy realms, they're always in nature. They're at a faster time-space frequency. Now, the star people have also showed me how to go through time and space. Me and Starman, we did one meditation. And it was like, we are each and every one of us, and I've done this a bunch of times, but you can pull yourself back out of your body, which is totally wild. But it's like your consciousness pulls back and you can feel it because you feel kind of like you're inside your body. And then all of a sudden they were like, watch, we're going to show you 5D. And so, but it was like a tiny bit of 5D. And so they pulled me out the top and up. And so I felt my consciousness was up here and it was like pure love, joy, and bliss. And it lasted for what seemed like, it was not even a minute. It seemed like a split second, but it was long. It felt like longer than that. And I was like, oh God. Like if you've ever been hugged by an angel, that's what it feels like. That's what 5D feels like. And they said, now that you know the emotion code for 5D of that really, really blissful love, they're like, try and coax it down. Because coaxing it down is why the star seeds are here on the planet. We do this naturally by the amount of love that we radiate, right? So we sit here and we love everyone. We love ourselves. We love everything. right? Even when it's crummy stuff or someone's mean to us, we still send you love and light. Now, imagine that you can actually feel the emotion of pure love, joy, and bliss. Because the second that you start pulling that emotion down and you're like, not today, universe, today's the best day ever, and you just start to coax that bliss emotion into your physical form, it's going to raise your frequency so fast. And so a lot of times when we laugh, we're coaxing bliss down into our body. Bliss and laughter is the same exact frequency. This is the reason why when we start laughing, it helps to heal us very, very rapidly. So my daughter, she has this piece of organite. All right. It's so beautiful. It's got the flower life symbol. I had it right here in front of the TV, and I have not noticed a single glitch or anything funky going on. So I think we're going to keep it. Yeah. Oh, today a squirrel came up to you. You almost picked it up, but you got scared. The animals are actually raising in frequency. Not that I'm telling anybody to go touch a wild animal. However, the animals are raising in frequency. And so a lot of times we see the animals have more love for humans because what happens when a human being casts, and this all a form of casting, it's casting of energetic. When a human being takes a love-based emotion and casts it at that animal, that emotion code actually tunes into the animal's collective consciousness grid, because each and every animal has its own grid that's surrounding the planet. Every insect, every blade of grass, every plant, it all has its own collective consciousness grid. We can see it with certain technology. You can tell when you start to pull apart the grids above the planet, each species, he's saying he wants me to be very careful when we dive into like race, but he is saying that there's genetic abnormalities among our species. So some of us, like the Chinese people, their grid is slightly different than the African Americans. However, if you took a look at both of the grids, they're very, very similar. So it's kind of like you would have to take the grid and stick it under a microscope and look for the differences in the frequencies, but it is ever so slight. And so that is just, we love all the races. We're all connected. So, but every blade of grass, every different type of animal, and it's all connected. Now, when we start looking at all the animal grids, there are some animals who are designed for 5D frequencies, for 4 and 5D frequencies, he's saying, because we go through a shift. 4D is like a half step. It's like a black note on the piano. It's not a full hardcore frequency. It's a half note. And so when we start to look at certain animals, they can't make it higher up than 4D. And so we'll see those animals go extinct during the time of evolution, which is now. We're seeing all the earth changes, all the stuff is happening. So we'll see all of those animals who are not designed for 5D, they will go extinct. In our human physical minds, we see it as, oh my God, the animal went extinct. It's dead. It's no longer with us, like the dinosaurs. It's gone. That's not the case at all. Those animals are just in a different frequency range. They can never be destroyed because that imprint, the energetic, is in the source frequency codex. And so that animal could very easily manifest on any number of planets. It's usually, the process of evolution starts with a 1D. So like a single-celled amoeba on a planet where there's nothing else. And that single cell, it grows, it divides, and then it learns, it evolves into 2D. So now you have crystals, you have rocks, right? And then all of a sudden you have life. And then we see it as 3D is the beginning of life. Now, it's very clear. The second that you know that this is the way the world works and this is how advanced beings became populated, it's like when you look at a planet like ours, we have so many different types of animals, so many different types of insects. We have so many different types of plants. This planet was populated by extraterrestrials, guys. It's just, there's no way. If you take a look at any one of the planets that the extraterrestrials are from, their life and plants and all that stuff, it's like ours is like, it's just amazing. There's no words for it. But that doesn't mean every single planet, they're saying, because many planets are populated, because we step into a day and age when we have geoengineering. And so they're taking genetics and they're mutating and they're making things. Now, we always speak about topics like genetically modified foods, except we think and we talk about it as if it's a negative. This is automatic because everyone's like, it's killing us, it's causing cancer, blah, 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 blah. But what if there was a way to use it for a positive light? What if there was a way to genetically modify the plant so that it is extending our life, making us healthy, and giving us more light ions? Now, every single time you eat raw food, it has light ions in it that feed your energetic grid structures. And so these light ions, the second that you pull the fruit from the tree, the light ions are the most it will ever be. And then it starts to dim its light. And then all of a sudden it starts a downward spiral and it starts to decompose. So we want to pull it from the tree and we want to eat it the second it's pulled from a tree. So why is it that they're putting the fruit in a truck and driving it across from country to country to country so that it's already spent a week, 2 weeks in a truck, and then it hits our supermarkets and then we get it on like the third or fourth week? Why is this done? Right? And so we really, really need to start taking the food back into our own hands. Now, I know I was just having conversations yesterday about people starting gardens in their own front yard. And so anytime that you grow fresh, you want to eat fresh from vine to mouth. So even sitting outside and making a salad, plucking the cucumber right as you need it, all that stuff is great. This is the way we're meant to be living. This is the way, the source frequency designed our bodies to be living, to pluck it from the tree and eat it. And so it was more like a hunter-gatherer. But even if you're taking it and you have it within a day or two, the light ions are still very bright. And so it's still going to heal your energetic grids. The second that you cook it, it removes all of the light ions. So we can see this on different photonic cameras. So we can see the light ions. We can see what happens when you cook it. It's gone. Any type of heat, it kills it. So but it's absolutely amazing. Now, vitamin, the UVB, very, very important. And so when you have good UVB, it fills the body with vitamin D. It reduces your pain. So now here in America, we see Planet Fitness is one of the gyms. So we see the UV, the red light color therapy is coming out and people are getting it because of all the clouds in the sky. Yeah, so you're growing a garden this summer. It's beautiful. And not only that, but I personally, because I did manifest for this, I see people, they have these guns. They're like kids' guns, but they shoot seeds out of it. And so there's guys on TikTok who are riding along on like a skateboard and they're shooting like flower seeds and fruits and vegetable seeds all over the place as they go. Or they're even filling it in like a spice jar and they're shaking it all over the place. So, but that's beautiful. Look at what the collective consciousness is manifesting. Because when we are talking about, there could potentially be a food shortage, is on the news trying to generate fear, right? So if those people are telling us that, we always want to take the power back. And so if anyone has room to grow, start growing it, right? I don't personally believe that they are going to be able to pull that off. They even tried, there was something where, during all that nonsense in the civilization, you guys know when we were all masked up, they didn't let the trucks in or the boats in. So they had all these goods, right, sitting out and seeing the boats, and they refused to let it in. The truckers were sending videos, and they're like, it's not us. We're here waiting for them to release all the inventory, the stock. And then all of a sudden, it was like they were just causing chaos in the civilization. And so we were fine. Everyone was fine. Right? So it really doesn't matter. And not only that, but if anyone's worried about not having stuff, there's a whole revolution going on right now where people are putting together a barter system. And so I see all this stuff because this is what I personally manifest, right? I want to see bartering come back. What do you guys have to offer? This is what I have to offer. I just went through and I cleaned out my entire house in July. So the Star people have me donate 95% of, it wasn't quite 95, it was 95% of my clothes. But the whole house, I wished everything and I donated it all. If you would see the pictures of all the stuff I gave away, and I still have more stuff. It's just like it burdens on top of you though. So, but if we could open up a bartering system, it's like, here, you guys take this and what do I need? Right? And then all of a sudden everyone is sharing and caring and you're taking it so that we don't have to give the big corporations our money. Right? And so we don't have to worry about food shortages if we are the ones taking care of our own food. So it's beautiful. Absolutely. Does anyone have any questions? Hi, Vicky. Welcome. Okay, let me see. Okay, would our guides ever let us fail our mission? That's like the first question. Hold on, let me take a sip. Juice box day. Okay. Would our guides ever let us fail the mission? For the people who want to achieve the goal, not for the people who choose to fail. So the people who choose to fail, there was one point in my mission where I chose to fail. I thought I was going to fail. I knew I was going to fail. I was crippled. I was like, what is the point? There was no point in living with that kind of pain. And they pushed me through. Even today, I have some things going on that, it's crazy. What are you going to do? They're still pushing me through. So no, I do not think that they will let you fail. I do think that we have free will, but I don't think that they will ever give up on us. And that is something I know. Do you want to know something? Every time that we talk about the government man in the juice box, I feel him walk in the room. It's like I feel like he's watching the damn video and we crack a joke and like in 2 minutes he's here and I'm like, damn it. He intensified the machine. Now I don't know if you guys saw this yesterday, but he poked me and I felt it and I like flinched on the video and I was like, I'm not making a big deal of it, right? But he poked me and I have a bruise. And it's like a massive bruise. But the bruise isn't where he poked me. It's on my leg. But it's still like, how did that bruise get there? Right? And so the star people keep telling me, don't be scared. You got to overcome him. And you got to pull down the source frequency and hold love and light for every experience. And then all of a sudden, he won't be able to mess with you. So it's a learning experience for me. But, and to just sit here and he disrupts the audio. He cuts it in and out. When me and Allie, I started doing the videos with Allie first, this man, he muted my microphone. And so me and Allie, called her. I'm like, put the phone next to the computer so that they can hear me. And then he muted her microphone. And then both of us are like sitting there and we were on Meet Tina. And Tina's like, I can't hear either one of you. And I was on the phone and I was like, he muted the microphone. And so there's just no way that this can happen. And then I saw him running. Now, there was another time me and Allie were on, and he hit both of us with some type of like trauma frequency. And so I went screaming. I almost fell out of my chair. I threw myself on the floor. Yeah, you remember those? And then right as I'm throwing myself on the floor, Allie goes running and her child and her husband, everyone is screaming in her house. I'm like, oh, they hit us scared with the frequency weapon, right? So they made it so we felt fear and trauma and all that stuff. It was funny, though. We had a good laugh at it. But the star people tell me not to test him because I feel him turning up the throttle. And so one of the last lives, it feels like he was pulling the thoughts out of my head before I had like they get downloaded by the star people. And before I had a chance to speak them, he was pulling it out. And I felt like I was stuck in oblivion. And so, but not only that, but I could feel him pulse. I have this tooth that's trying to kill me. And so I felt him pulse the meridian that messed with the tooth. And it was just not a good time. So the star people had to do clearings and all sorts of stuff. But they're like, it's a learning lesson, right? And so you take it and you just send it love and light. Yeah. It's crazy though. But when we crack jokes on him, they're like, don't poke the bear. And so I could just imagine him getting really pissed. So, yeah, he's definitely. And so, yeah. Oh no, he was tall because I saw him. And it was like a brown silhouette. And I screamed bloody murder. I mean, I swear to God, everyone heard me. They were like, what's happening? Right? Everyone thinks it's a spider. And I was like, it was a government man. I knew right away. I mean, I don't know if it's a government man, but who else would it be? He had a logo on his boots. I don't think the extraterrestrials are putting logos on their boots. You know what I mean? Like they don't have this monetary system like we have. So it's wild. But that was the only time I saw him. Now I just sense him. I feel him. I feel pressure in my head. Sometimes he hits me in different spots. And so we have these meridians that go down. There's a bunch of them in the front, on the sides. And so I can feel him triggering different ones. And so, yeah, like right now he's triggering one back here and it just pinched me in the back. Like I could feel the line go down. So, yeah, I know. I wanted to know too. He's just someone I saw in a silhouette. And I feel when he comes. So he messes with the audio, messes with the video. So we just call him the government man, right? We send him love and light and we're not scared. So I don't think he's able to kill me. I know personally that I have the karma backlashes is very strong with me because I'm very loving, caring, kind to all people, right? And so I've seen it before where people mess with me, and then it's like, bam, like they get hurt really quick, and so it's of no doing of mine because I send them love and light, but I see the backlash happens. It's even happened to my kid before, so no one wants their kid to get hurt. My kid did something to me, and she put me on my butt, and it hurt, and then all of a sudden she was bleeding. Like the very same second that she put me on the floor and hurt me, she got a cut on her toe. So totally wild, right? Like, so I don't think that they're able to actually cause serious harm. I think maybe the frequency weapon that they are using, like it triggers the meridians, and then if something is in alignment, it could cause, but the star people do a full energetic clearing right after the live. So it's just, we don't get scared, right? We send them love and light. What are you going to do? Next question. Okay, so are some guides more motivated than others? I feel like all guides are all the same. And so your guides are your guides. You assign the role that they are to place. And so many times the star people are stepping forward. They're saying many times your guides are exactly who you need them to be. And so if you need to, like, and it's no wonder I was in a place where I needed extra love. And so then I manifested my star husband. And so he's with me 24/7. From the moment I go to sleep to the moment I wake up, this man is with me. I can hear him. I can sense him. I can feel him. You know, we snuggle up together. It's just an amazing ride. But other guides come and go. And so there are certain moments in our timelines in which there'll be a door open. Like it was a couple months ago, there was a door opening for me to get the tooth healed. I was not able to do it. But during that moment, all these people like Ganesh, Krishna, they said the word Bhagavad Gita. And so then all of a sudden, my kid's father comes in with a book called the Bhagavad Gita. And I was like, I tried doing research on it. I couldn't find anything. He comes in with a book. Right. And so sometimes through different stages that we're in, we will naturally have different guides come in. And then I didn't go through the door. I couldn't get the tooth fixed. I was too chicken. And so that door closed and those guides moved on. And so those guides, they're coming back around again because there's another potential to heal the tooth. And so who knows what's going to happen. But our guides will always shift depending on the biological frequency that we are holding. And so if we are holding a time in which we need guides to come in and hold our hands and take us from a negative, a toxic, and right. And so that's what they did for me. They could do it for you too. Now, I was just telling you guys, we had one of my ladies. She's never even had a session. I just talked to her on the message. You guys should really message me because I talk to people. I give things away for free. I do all sorts of amazing stuff. And so this particular person, she had the extraterrestrials were in her bedroom showing her how to heal herself because it's very empowering to learn how to do it yourself. Right. And so when they come in and they teach us and then we learn, they really want us to place focus and make the intention to do it ourselves. And so that's why all of the information that I bring forward, it's all how do we heal ourselves? How do we do it ourselves? How do we clear our own attachments? How do we become powerful in our own divine right? That is what they want to do. Just imagine for 1 second that these guys are basically like the Jedi, right? They can levitate things. It's like Disney World on their frequency, I should say, their planet and their frequency. They can instantaneously manifest. Yes, certain ET species, they have replicators. So they can replicate the item using the technology. The star people can replicate items using their consciousness. So they literally are very, very advanced spiritual beings. Now, what do you feel like when you think of the word a spiritual being? You think about someone in like a robe, like the monks are in robes. This is what I think about, right? I think about someone meditating, doing yoga. There are certain extraterrestrial species that are just like that. It's not all of them though. But those guys, they do work with the star people. What is the name of that green guy from Star Wars with the ears? Those people are real. And so I had a whole vision of them. I saw a woman and she wasn't tiny. She was like a fully grown, full-size person with these huge ears, and she was green. So the star people said that those people are real too. And yes, they all have their psionic ability fully activated. So certain extraterrestrials, they have it partially activated. So they're able to do things like shut off the body chills, the body cold. They're able to telepathy, communication with you. They're able to instantaneously manifest. But there's 365 senses that human beings can activate. That's telepathy, telekinesis, teleportation, changing the weather, right? We're grounded into the planet, so we could do all sorts of things. Your sense of magnetism, some people can lift magnets. You could change magnets. Some people can direct the chi. It's Pikachu. Is my Starman, it's like a joke. Pikachu is everywhere now because it's a running joke. I make lightning. And so it's only happened when I was heart hurt. However, there was one time I was falling, and so it was fear. And I touched someone, and he got an electrical zap. So there are people on this planet that have learned how to harness their emotions better than me because they know how to do it, but they meditate a lot more than me. And so they harness their emotions, and then they touch someone, and they could generate a spark of electricity, and then it's like pulsing out the energetic grids. Now, the star people say, I've been doing this all along when I'm doing my sessions and I'm doing the energy clearing. I look like Neo from the Matrix when I do it. I pull apart the grids. I send it love and light. I readjust like I don't do it on the video because I don't want people seeing it. It's crazy. But I do it and I get into it because I know if I get into it hardcore and I put the music on and I'm bouncing and I'm joy, it's always inspirational music too. It's very like God music, right? And so that type of inspirational music, and then you're casting that energy at people's grids, it clears super, super fast. Yeah. Melissa, you're making people cry. What are you doing? I have that effect on people too, though. It's okay. It's good tears, positive tears, and it makes you heal yourself, right? And so, but the second that everybody fully understands how to work their energetics, you're able to just walk up to someone and heart hug them and pulse all the energetic grids, and it clears all the density right off. Whether or not all of the attachments come off is to be seen. The star people say no. The attachments do not fully leave unless you know the name or the emotion code. Because imagine for 1 second, and the star people are stepping forward. They're saying, imagine for 1 second, you can walk up to someone, you could send them love and light, you can clear the energetic grids. That's wonderful. But if they're holding on to a trauma emotion, so it's fear. And so every time they think about this experience, it's fear and it's trauma. Then it doesn't matter how many times a healer cleans the grids, that person is still going to generate fear. It's going to manifest the distortion right back into the energetic grid. This is why they say we can't heal anybody. They have to heal themselves because they have to release the fear that they are holding on to. Whether or not we pulse the grid, it releases the fear, and then they just don't allow the memory or the thought or the emotion to re-trigger the fear. Then it could potentially stay clear. Anyone dealing with like lung cancer or asthma, it's coming from your heart. I don't know why they wanted to tell you this. They are like, the star people like, you need to tell that someone needs to know that. Anyone who can't breathe, it's a heart chakra. And so you need to pull out. You can visualize that there are rocks. And so any and all of the trauma and the emotions that are inside your heart from being hurt so many times or backstabbed or knife stabbed, whatever you want to call it, just imagine it's a rock, pull it out and throw it on the floor. You don't need to carry it anymore. Pull it out, throw it on the floor. Let the angels come and sweep it all away. And so just keep doing that because it's going to heal your heart. Yeah. Amazing. So, and then send your heart love and light. Anytime you guys dive into attachment releases, so you visualize green around your body, and then you ask the higher self for an emotion code. That emotion code is always related to the attachment. But make sure that you take a bath, use salt. Salt cleanses the emotion grids. You have to get your hair wet. You cannot wait. It's like of the utmost importance because this happened to me. I have a whole team of star people. My Starman had to call it a medical team. And so it got serious for me because I couldn't sleep. I like to sleep. When it's time to sleep, it's like it was a half hour of kicking, and tossing and turning. It was not comfortable. It was like anxiety. I haven't felt anxiety like that in such a long time, but he had to call in a medical team. So that's why I'm very like, you guys have to do the saltwater bath. As soon as you start to touch any attachments or any of those emotions, hop in a bath, get your hair wet. You have to do it. So, because I know what I went through and I don't want you guys to go through it. Okay, let's see. I only made it through one question. And so today's a good night. Okay. Can we create better relationships with our star families? Absolutely. This was crazy for me in 2019. Let me just take a second. I knew I was channeling extraterrestrials. It was still crazy. It was crazy. I've been channeling extraterrestrials from the time when it was seriously crazy. People like looked at you like cuckoo, right? And so it wasn't really a cool thing. It wasn't really a fad, but it was my truth and I knew it. And so when I knew it, I would walk around and I would tell people, they're telling me to tell you this. And I know it sounds crazy, but you need to know. And they would look at me like crazy, right? And so, but the way to build a better relationship with the extraterrestrials is to keep talking to them, to keep allowing them to guide you, right? And thank them. We even now is very humbling because after the live, I thank them now because now it was brought to my attention that everyone likes a thank you. And so when you can't see people, right, you don't realize that you're supposed to thank them because you can't see them. They're not really there, but they're actually here. And not only that, but they're with you guys too. So a lot of times, if you just close your eyes and sense the space outside your body, a lot of you can feel extraterrestrials in the room with you. They know who you guys are. You're all starseeds. You're watching this video. You made it over an hour. You're definitely a starseed. And so they know who you are. Their star family is always with you anyway, or they're always monitoring you. So a lot of times they can either assign the computer to monitor you. So if you dip into a low frequency, something bad is going to happen. It's like a red alert on their computer screen. That's one way that they show that to me as far as me understanding. But they're saying right now it does not necessarily have to be like that. They can sense your family to them. So they can sense when you're about to go through trauma or tragedy. And even if you've already gone, it's like a car accident or something silly happened, something serious happened, not silly. Your star family was watching you the entire time because there's limits. So you're allowed to experience the darkness. You're allowed to get hurt. I got hurt. I was a cripple. But if it gets too dense, they're saying that they will stop it. Now, I did have an experience in which I when I was at my mother's house when I was way younger, they froze me. I was frozen multiple times. And so I honestly believe that different species have interacted with me. I know I have hybrid kids who are not from the star people. And so I know their names. I was going to say it, but I can't say it online. I do also know that there was another extraterrestrial race who was doing kind of like experiments and like I don't know what the hell they were doing. They were doing something. And so, but I've also heard that race, and that race I thought was the Arcturians. It wasn't. So now it was confirmed. But each and every one of us who are on planet Earth, we have people watching us. This is just a part of life. Now think about it from this perspective. If you are seeing people evolve, wouldn't you take it as a learning ability to like watch and monitor them? Right? And so see what's happening in their body. Now, when you take someone's blood, you can actually tell what codons or genetics that they've turned on and which ones they've turned off. So if they want to tell if you've activated any extrasensory abilities, they can either take your blood. Some species can tell right from the energetic grids, but many times we want to see it in the physical body because the physical one is how we manifest in the physical reality is what they're saying. So yeah, it's just absolutely beautiful. A lot of times they don't cause us harm. And so specifically the star people, they're all love and light. They're like the Jedi. So they're for the light. They do not get political. They want to teach us to stand in our own power and to activate our own extrasensory abilities. So they do not talk on like earth agendas, politics, none of that nonsense. And believe me, I've asked, right? And what's going to happen? And they're like, well, the potentials, but you are the creator and you can shift your frequency at any moment, which then changes the potentials that you currently are holding so that you don't have to experience any of that nonsense. And so after being told that a million times, it's like, I'm not even going to ask, right? Because they're not going to give me the answer because I want to know, right? What's the lottery numbers? That's the first thing we all ask when we figure we're channeling extraterrestrials. And they're like, well, if you won the millions of dollars, because there is a thing called the power of three, where three people believe, we can make instantaneous changes in the hologram with three people. You have to be properly attuned and your belief systems have to be open. We can start to change what we see. It's kind of like the random number generator. These things are very real. The way the star people want us to start using that ability is to heal people. And so you have to have a boy and two girls or two girls and one boy. We have to have one of the opposite sex. And when we do that, you just start visualizing the person healed. Then you ask the person, how do you feel? All right, it is done. It is done. Usa, usa, it is done. And so when you start to do things like this, then, tumors, cancers can shrink. My neighbor had 4 gigantic lung masses. We saw the x-ray. She had the x-ray. And then I was like, nope, we're going to heal it. And so I made her breathe in iodine, naked iodine. I put it in a nebulizer. I went over there. I fed her every day, right? I was making her earth ground. I surrounded her with crystals. Like, I whipped out every single tool in my toolbox to heal her. Within 6 weeks, the doctors were apologizing and saying that they misdiagnosed her. Right? So we are able, and every day I went over, I made her laugh, right? So we would just laugh, and I would bombard her with so much science, right? Oh, you can instantaneously heal and blah, 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 blah. So we certainly can do each and every one of these things. And so that was only 2 of us. We didn't even have 3, but she believed me. She believed everything I told her because I sound like a freaking scientist. Meanwhile, I'm a stay-at-home Betty Crocker mom, right? Making her some steak and eggs. It was so funny. Well, yeah, she healed from that. And it was just amazing to watch her. So that's why I look at my life and I know I've healed from being a cripple, and I know she's healed from lung cancer. And I'm like, anybody can heal anything. We hear these stories of the people who get cancer and then they run down to like the Bahamas and they spend weeks on the beach, and then all of a sudden the cancer is gone. And so what do we learn from this? We just have to change our frequency. Yeah, you have to want to heal, but even if that person went down to the beach and they didn't want to heal, they were fine with it, you don't know who they're going to run into. So let's say they go down to the beach, they start drinking Mai Tais. Now they're surrounded by funny people who are on vacation, who are having a good time. Now they're laughing more. Now they feel a little bit better. And then all of a sudden, everything starts unpacking for them and they're super happy. They're grounded to the earth. They're on the beach. They're in the water, right? So you're reducing your inflammation in your body when you ground to the earth for 2 hours. If you're hanging out on a beach, in 2019, we would go down to the beach and we didn't know why we did this. We just did it. Now I know why, because the star people like, go to the beach. You need to go ground. And we would sit there. We would do yoga. We would stretch. I didn't call it yoga because I'm not a yoga person. I'm a martial artist. And so I called it karate stretches. And so we would go there. We would touch the water. We would watch the sunset every night. Now, the way that we could change the weather patterns too, I've noticed if we're indoors and we're not going to go outside and we do a sun prayer, the odds of it actually happening are a tiny bit less. And so, but the second we do a sun prayer and we're outside, so we need it to be sunny, it's like it changes the frequency. And the star people are even saying it has a lot to do with being outside, because the way the energetic, so he's answering my question right now. So the way the energetic flows through your physical body when you're outside, it's tuning into the upper atmospheres at a higher frequency range. And so we did this today, and it was all cloudy, all crummy out. And then we went outside, and then all of a sudden we got to see the sunset. So it was absolutely beautiful. Yeah. Hold on. It's T7777. Welcome. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. It is an absolute blessing and a pleasure to have you guys join us. So thank you so incredibly much from my heart to yours. Thank you, Instagram. Thank you, Facebook. Thank you, YouTube. Thank you guys for coming. Well, I really didn't make it through any of the questions. I tried. Let's see. Cutting cords with earlier versions of ourself. And so this one is funny because the way that the person described imagine that you have trauma. That trauma is from you as a child. So that's your younger self trauma. And so what they were taught to do is they were told to go inside and imagine cutting the cord between the younger self and the person that you are today. And so I can completely understand why that teachers would instruct you to do something like that, but it just doesn't resonate with me. And what the star people said is we want to bring the younger self forward. And so just imagine right now, you can cut the cords with anyone who's mean in your life, right? You can cut the cord, you can send it back with love and light, because we always deal in light and love. We never cut it back in anger. We only do love, because whatever you cast out, it comes back at you, right? So what did you put out in the world? It's going to always come back at you. So we put out love and we forgive. That's what we do, because we are light workers and starseeds. Okay, so choose love every single time. Now, when we take the younger self, that younger version of ourself, when you're cutting the cord, that inner child is still a piece of you. And so you're just leaving her to fend for her own. How does that feel? And even as I say that, I get chills washed over my body. It doesn't sound too good, because imagine leaving your younger child alone. Their younger child is crying. They're upset because they want to be healed. And so what the Arcturians do is they have me imagine pulling my younger child and they face to face. So I have to look at her, right? I have to look at her and I have to give her a heart hug. I have to hug her. I have to rock her from side to side as children like to be hugged. I have to tell her how much I love her. I have to send her so much compassion and understanding. I understand that you are walking through all of this trauma. I understand that you feel like your life is crumbling around you right now. I understand that your body is broken and you can't walk. And I understand all of these emotions that are racing through you. I understand and I love you, and you are strong and you are powerful and you are going to heal this. And one day you will turn into me, and that you will know that you are strong and powerful. And right now it is okay for you to release. It is okay for you to let go of these emotions. You do not have to carry them anymore. You could put them down because you know in your heart that you are going to be fine and you are protected. And it is okay to experience these emotions. It is okay to let the pain flow out of you. It is okay for you to cry the tears that need to be cried. It is okay because I will be here to dry your tears. I will be here to collect every single tear and turn them back into light and love and bless you with them. And so when I say that to my younger self, that feels more powerful than just cutting the cord. It's deep. I feel like I'm going to cry right now. I don't know about you guys, but yeah, it's deep. Like when you do something like that, it's like, okay, right? And then it heals. Now, the second that the younger self is in your arms and you're rocking, you're hugging, you're telling all this stuff, then all of a sudden the younger self will start to change emotionally. So she may go from battered and broken and sad to all of a sudden she lights up. She wants to take your hand. She wants to show you something because she's excited, right? And so when you do that, the second that the younger self changes the emotion, that emotion from the younger self has been completely healed. Yeah. So beautiful. Excellent. Thank you guys. Yeah, I felt it too. It's wild. I mean, you can trigger so many different emotions just by diving into your younger self. So any trauma that you have walked, call the younger self forward and put her heart to heart with you, or him heart to heart with you. And so, but you have to be, when you're having a heart to heart with someone, you can't lie, because that emotion of lying or untruthfulness or, even over exaggerating, none of that stuff works when you're heart to heart with the person. You could feel it right away when someone is being shady, right? It's a shade that they're putting over themselves. So you have to be truthful and honest and let down your boundaries. And you have to, if you're looking at your younger self and she's making you cry, you have to cry with her. You have to release, because when we release these things, it heals us. We allow it to heal ourselves, because that emotion, that younger child that we are projecting in front of us, she is us. She is in your body. She's in your consciousness. She's in your psyche. She's actually connected into your cube system. You have a Merkaba field, right? But you also have a cube system. Now, the cube system, the star people say it's 64 different cubes where different personality complexes fit in. Half are light, half are dark. So different personality complexes can come and go depending on channeling. This is also how, we're able to see multiple personality syndrome. There's a different name, I keep forgetting it, but multiple personalities enter in each one of these tiny little cubes inside the cube system. And so now you can also channel. So let's take, for an example, actors, right? So actors take Jack Sparrow, the pirate. He had to call upon that character, that personality of that pirate. And so when he did that, he activated one of the tiny little cubes in this cube system. There's 64. And so he called Jack Sparrow into his personality grid complex. Now, what happened is anytime that he needs Jack Sparrow, he could flip a switch and activate it. Each and every one of us can do this. Many times when we experience a trauma that is so traumatic, we can manifest on accident a personality of a savior. That savior is, just imagine that the source frequency has a billion different personalities for us to choose from. And so a savior will come down and it will embody one of those tiny little squares in the personality complex. And so whenever you are going through trauma, it's like the emotions will shift and the savior will step forward. This is how the personality grid was designed to work. Now, think about it from another perspective. How many times have you noticed that you're with one group of people and you act a certain way? Then you're with a different group of people and it's like you let your guard down. And then all of a sudden you're a totally different person. And so I used to hang out in multiple groups. And I realized very early in my age, wow, I feel very different when I'm hanging out with different people. And so, of course, when you're a kid, you chalk it up to, well, maybe it's just the tone of the group. Who knows, right? But when I was on my bike, it was a renegade, right? And then, but when I went to medical billing school. And so when I was there, I was all intellectual. I was teacher mode activated. And that's what me and my kids say. We say sloth mode activated and teacher mode activated. And so that's part of, right? When you speak it, you can activate it. So what do you guys want to be, right? I want an intellectual mode activated. And so you're casting positivity, but you're also reprogramming yourself. So when you start to say super energy mode activated, right? And all of a sudden you keep doing this to your body is going to start to respond. So yeah, you watch your personality switch when I was going through PTSD. Yes, this is how it works. And so remember, the way the cube system works, half is light and half is dark. And so each one of the squares doesn't necessarily have to be filled. Some of them remain open so that you can draw down the personality. You could even choose to cast out the personality. When you cast out the personality, you're no longer needed. That light beam that's filling that square, it goes back up. Okay, that's just the way it works. And it works. This is just the way it works. I don't even know how to explain it. It's just the way it works. So that is the way. They're laughing. They're like, it's the way. But if we know this, then what do we want to do? So we want to call upon our highest potential. And so allow that highest potential to fill one of those personality squares. So what do? You start activating your childlike mind. What does it look like? What does your highest potential look like? What do they eat? What do they drink? What do they wear? By saying mantras, I drink the best water ever. Now, all of a sudden, I didn't like water. I did not like drinking water. I was a soda drinker. Then I went to the juice boxes. I went to iced tea. The caffeine was killing me, right? All this stuff. And now all of a sudden, I have this gigantic water and it literally is purified, like bam. And it will still evolve more because I would actually like to find a nice organic spring local that I can go and take my jug every day, climb up the damn mountain and fill up my jug. Right. So I'm getting the water directly from Mother Earth. So my water is eventually going to evolve when I find where the spring is. I will manifest it though. So we're up a mountain. So there's plenty of trails we can go walking. So yeah, it's wild. Absolutely wild. But when we start to call upon the highest potential, now we do have to also realize sometimes, and this is many of us, I know because I talk to my people on my messages, but sometimes the universe does ask us for sacrifices. So this is just part of the nature of the reality. No one wants to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it because my tooth is one of those sacrifices. I'm holding on to it near and dear. It needs to go because it's part of my old life. And so when we many times think about it this way, if someone has gangrene on their toes, they're called to make the sacrifice to remove the toes to save their life. And so sometimes the universe will put you into a position in which you have to do one of those. So it's wild though. But when we start to really step into the higher frequencies, you do get called to make certain sacrifices, even if it's a personality complex sacrifice. And so I used to curse a lot. I was like a truck driver. It was so funny to me. It was not funny to the star people, but I was called to release, right? And so now, even today, occasionally I do curse, but I try and take it back, right? So I'm more aware of it because it's not healthy and positive and beneficial. That's not who my higher self is. That's not who I'm meant to be in the future. Right. And so if it's not who my highest potential is, it's not for me. We have to sacrifice it, get it out of here. Right. And so does it feel good to you guys when you engage in something that's lower frequency, like the sugar? I went through a whole stage where I gave up sugar. I gave up juice boxes. I just started drinking them again. And so the chocolate too, I gave that up. I had chocolate yesterday. It was so good. But now it's like we're going to start again. Right. So it doesn't matter if it takes you 1,000 times. And this is the thing, too. None of us are perfect. So if we say we're going to give something up and then 3 or 4 weeks go by and we do it again, it's OK. It's only an experience, and we'll try again. And maybe next time we'll succeed. And so a lot of times when I hear people are quitting smoking and they've tried quitting like 10, 20 times, it's okay. Because it only takes that one time to get it right. I've had to go through certain things where I tried to quit and then I tried to quit again, then I tried to quit again, right? And then it got into that loop of it felt like it was never going to happen. And then all of a sudden one day it happened. You just also, there's a part of willpower inside of each of us, and there's a switch inside of our brain. We should all be aware of this switch because it's like our determination switch. And so many times when we reach the lowest of the low and we've had enough, that's when that switch gets triggered. But you can trigger it at any moment you see fit. And so when you've just had enough of something, let's say you're doing something that is not healthy and beneficial for you. Like let's say you're eating something that's making you tired. That's how sugar treats me. That's how I balance sugar. So if that happens to you, then your willpower has to step in and you have to say, no more, I'm done. The second that you're done and you know in your heart you're done, it's so much easier to get rid of whatever it is that you're trying to get rid of. But that willpower has to come into play, right? So just imagine that there's a switch in your head and you're telling it, I'm done, and flick the switch off, right? So it's on right now because you're eating it, flick it off, I'm done. And call upon your willpower. And every single moment that you have, imagine you break it down. The star people are saying you break it down into microseconds. So let's say you're having the craving for something. What can you tell your mind while you're having the craving? No, thank you. I'm done with that. And so looking back at my whole life, everything I've ever, because I've gone through different cycles with soda, tobacco, kratom, pain medicine, all of these different things. But it was more than that. It was like everything, shopping, right? Driving around in circles. I did that for about a year or two. A lot of times when you're in toxic environments, you'll, now this happens. So we're just going to say it, right? So a lot of times when a person's in a house and that house is a toxic environment, they may be drawn to seclude in one room. It could be a tiny space. It could be a closet. I know people who have been through severe PTSD and they lived in a closet. And so, but it was piled with all this stuff on top of them. And so they felt like they had no room to breathe. And so that's a very dark, dense. Now, certain environments will also put you in your car. And so what happens is that you spend a lot of time in the car and then you drive around. And so for a while, I drove around in circles just because it got me out of the house. It got the wind. I got to put the music on, right, and enjoy. But then that becomes a pattern, right? So why do you need to drive around in circles all day? So that was another one of my cycle repeats, because then after doing that, it was a long time, not going to lie. It was like 2 years of driving. Like, what are you going to do? I'm going to drive around in circles, right? And so it was crazy. But I mean, who doesn't like putting on music and jamming out and smoking, at the time? I don't smoke anymore. I quit. That one was easy. I changed locations to quit smoking. And so I put myself in a non-smoker's house. So I had no choice. And then I flipped the switch. The willpower was there. And I was like, I'm not doing it. I'm done. I thought it was going to kill me. So, but it made it easier to quit. And not only that, I was super proud of you guys too, because a whole bunch of you guys quit smoking with me, which was amazing. And then a bunch of you guys quit soda with me, which was amazing. So just to see how it ripple effects out. And so you guys never know how many people that you are going to affect. Okay, Victoria, your home is small and crowded because it's mine and 4 kids and belongings. Yeah. So your home makes you very depressed and you feel overwhelmed. So in that case, spend more time outside. I had a similar situation, so I was always in the car. Right. And so when you're in the car, it's like you can keep the car clean. So you have a clean space for yourself. And so that's part of it too. Now that I know what I know, the star people have me going through and they have me blessing my space. And so if you walked into this room smells like pumpkin spice, as well as I have, it's like a dehumidifier, but it's got tea tree oil, peppermint oil, eucalyptus oil, and there's some lavenders in there. So I mix up all the essential oils. So it smells nice. I keep it very clean. I have crystals on my windowsill. Everything is just, it's pretty and clean. And so when I come in here, it's like a breath of relief. So each and every one of us, we want to have one, like a Zen space where we can walk in and we could feel relief. And so if you feel triggered or anxiety in your location, your environment, it's just no good. It's harder to raise your frequency when you're in a triggering location frequency. So you really have to get that changed, fixed. Probably why I'm in the summer, I sit in my doorway or I'm outside. Yes, that's exactly what I used to do. I used to spend a lot of time outside, especially with the kids, right? When my kids were little, I got a whole basket of fruit for the day, and we'd go outside and I would let them play all day long. And then they would be in the mud and the dirt and all that stuff, and then I would wash them with the hose. And they loved it though, right? So we'd fill up the kid pool, wash everything out, and then whoosh, they were done. And then, into a bath. So they didn't drag all the dirt and the mud in the house. So it was just, we did this every day. And so it felt really good. But then what happens in the winter? We become sun deprived. We're indoors all along, and then the kids aren't outside and playing in their space. So they're in the house making a mess, and then it turns into toxic frequencies, right? Because you got old kid stuff everywhere. It stresses people. So yeah, it's completely understandable. And it'll get easier when the kids get older too, by the way. Because now my kids are rock stars. They help me clean. They can get my whole house clean in under an hour. I've timed them. So it's amazing what kids can do. They pull out that energy and they're like, whoosh. And I'm like, damn, right? It's amazing. Okay, so let's see. We're going to do one more question. So we do have, I just want to go into this. We do have a new group chat on the WhatsApp. We also have the Star People group on Facebook. I started a group chat in there as well. So that this way we have two different ways to, like, I could send you guys text messages, or if you're on Facebook Messenger, we can group chat. There's two different areas where I could tell you guys, hey, I'm going live. Because the way that the system is set, you guys aren't really getting the notifications that we are going live. So I figured just a way to communicate with you. And then not only that, but like occasionally I like to do an affirmation card. And so it's not, I don't do in the mornings because I don't know what your guys' schedule looks like and I don't want to interrupt people, but I'll send it like afternoon so that, you guys get a picture of a crystal, affirmation, or whatever fun stuff that I'm diving into for the day, right? So you guys can get a little happy pocket of joy and sunshine. So just imagine that. And normally it's always in divine alignment. And so whenever I send messages or comments out, they're like, damn, I was having a rough moment. And then I got your message. So it's wonderful. You guys can join those two things, the WhatsApp. All the links are on my Facebook. So you can either go to the DanielleLipton.com Facebook profile or treelifeorganization.com. That's another Facebook profile. All the links to all these things are there. So what else we got? We do have the Attachment Master Class is this Saturday. So seating is limited. You can get reserve your spot at DanielleLipton.com. And so that's pretty amazing, as well as Friday at 4 p.m. and Saturday at 4:30 p.m. I'm going live. So you guys can log back on. You can watch me. If you have any questions, send me the questions because I'll go over them on the next live. Okay, should you do cord cuttings with toxic relationships of those who passed away? Yes, absolutely. Those who passed away, your light ions, it actually stays. Like, I'm sitting in the chair right now. So my light ions, they're going to be here in this chair for 30 days. And so there's all sorts of energetic cords that connect those light ions to you. When the person passes, you do not need to do a cord cutting. However, doing the cord cutting is going to help you to release these emotions. Do it anyway. What you have to do is you have to fully release. So it's okay for any and all people in the holographic simulation to have the experience that they are meant to have. That's what we do when we do a cord cutting release. Yeah. And so, yeah, I'm sorry that you went through that, but it's going to be okay. And not only that, when a soul exits the physical body, I want you just to imagine for 1 second, there's a bunch of shades on top of you. The shade is basically like your physical body. So when we see a soul, that soul is a bright light. It's like a white light, very, very bright. And so it comes into the physical body. The physical body is kind of like a shade. So we're not seeing the bright light. We're seeing the physical form in its physicality, the star people are saying. And so when we say someone is very toxic, it is because all of the trauma added all this density on top to their physical form. And so when you're seeing a toxic person, it is just a lack of love. When the soul leaves the body, all of that lack of love stays in the physical, and that love goes back into the soul form. So his soul form is pure love, joy, and bliss. That's what the heaven is. Heaven is love, joy, and bliss. That's what they showed me the emotion code of. In order to get into heaven, you have to hold that emotion code of love, joy, and bliss. And so you have to be heart-centered. You have to be loving, caring, kind to every single thing around you. All the negative experiences that we've had, we are meant to go and call the younger child and heal it with love and light. So we take a negative and we heal it with a positive. that unlocks one of the points in the Merkaba, as well as the 144 energetic nodes, the star people say. So each and every one of your experiences unlocks one of the energetic nodes that is in the energetic grid structures. And then all of a sudden, when you activate all of them, you activate the Merkaba field, and it activates multiple extrasensory abilities. And then you could coax yourself into 5D. So if you do a cord cutting, will we still be connected spiritually though? Like getting signs and etc. Well, it depends if you manifest that. So only your higher self can actually tell you if you need to see it. A lot of times though, what the star people are saying is if you're getting, and I'm feeling like a pulse in the third eye right now as I'm saying this to you, but if you're seeing signs and synchronicities of him, it's because his higher self wants you to know how much he actually loves you. Those people who are the most abusive to us in the physical world, they're actually our best friends in the spiritual realm. And so he may be giving you signs and synchronicities because he wants your forgiveness. He wants you to know he loves you, and he's sorry for all the things that happen in the physical world, but you guys are best friends. And so of course, just imagine for 1 second, like the roller coaster is over and you're taking the sunglasses off so you can see what it is. And so what are you going to do? Well, that's my best friend, right? So I'm going to try and high five you, even if I'm in ghost spirit form or whatever, right? Or in the heaven form, the light body. The star people are correcting me. It's not a ghost, because a ghost is different than the full light body activation. The star people are saying. So, and I did not mean to roll my eyes. Sorry. Okay, sorry guys. But yes, so this way you know that he is trying to, just tell him how much you love him and thank him for the ride, right? All of the negativity, all of the toxicity that we walk, it's because it's meant to teach us. And so we are meant to learn from it. And so think about it this way. Would you be strong and tough and stand in your power if you didn't have to overcome things? No. You would still be chilling, right? You wouldn't have grown at all. You wouldn't have gone through the evolution process. You wouldn't have rose above whatever demons that you had to fight. And so we have to go through the darkness. The darkness teaches us. And then not only that, what the star people say is we birth new galaxies in the darkness. Think about a baby. The baby is born in 9 months. It's in darkness. So, yeah. Oh, see, so yeah, you got emotional tonight when your song came on and told him you love him and forgive him. See, that's probably what he wanted, because you and him are really best friends. Now, just remember, feel the government man is here. I can feel him. Just to let you know. Just imagine for 1 second, how did you feel when you first fell in love with him? What did that feel like, right? When you two first fell in love? And so anyone who's having issues in relationships, I want you just to imagine, how did it feel when you first fell in love? So is there any way of coaxing that emotion into you and just remembering, right? Remember who he was or who she was when you first fell in love with them. So it's just, yeah, that's a sign in the synchronicity that he's trying to make communication with you. So remember who he was when you first fell in love with him, and just send him love and light and thank him for the experience. He's in spirit form. So he's probably going to watch you for a little while. And then they have their own lives up there. So they don't just hang out and watch us forever, but they do know when our frequency drops. I've had experiences where I was crying, and I used to be hysterical all the time. But the one time I went outside, I was crying, and my grandparents, I felt someone physically touch me on the back, and then they flashed images of my grandparents' life. And so first I saw my grandma, then I saw my grandpa. So of course I was like, who the hell was that? So I ran in the house and I told my mom, and I said, I saw grandma in a white dress, and she was young. And my mom whips out a photo book and she goes, was it this? And she showed me the photo of exactly what I had saw. And I was like, that's it. I had never seen that photo before though. So it was like proof and confirmation to me that someone was telepathically showing me a vision of my grandmother's life. So there's much more here to this world and this life than we have been told. So, and we have experiences like this, even you seeing the signs and synchronicities of your man who passed, right? That's supposed to be impossible in a strictly physical world. You're not supposed to be able to see things like that, but we live in a spiritual world. It's made of electricity and magnetism. It's beautiful. So yeah, just maybe release him, right? And so tell him how much you love him and release him and send him love and light. This way you can actually release the emotions that you are holding on to. So we're going to wrap this up. Saturday is the attachment masterclass. I do offer attachment release sessions now. You guys have been asking, so I finally put it up on the website. Now, of course, 333 is God's number. And so I just felt like it was calling me to use the threes in that one because it's like a protection. So every single time that we go into the attachment sessions, it's extensive. And so what happens is I have to do spiritual cleansing before the session. We go through the session and then we each have to take a bath. I have to do a meditation with the star people. They have to do energetic clearings. And so when we do attachment release, I do not rush the process. And so if I hop on a call, I don't care if it's taken an hour, 2 hours, or longer. It's going to take as long as it's going to take until the star people guide me to stop. And so it's just when you release and you get emotions and you're triggering all this stuff, you can't stop. You have to continue to release it. And so it's very extensive. So I only recommend that session for people who really want to dive deep and heal themselves. It's a very humbling moment for everyone involved. It's very, very like, oh man, it's beautiful. Right. And then I get to see the whole transformation that the person makes. So it's like a blessing for me to watch. Now, what happens when you release the attachments, you're releasing all the emotions. We're diving deep, right? We dive into any traumas, any past, any history, any emotions, any attachments. We're kicking them off. It's like it's heavy duty. Now, I've also taken the attachment session and I've even added it into the Ascension package. And so the Ascension package now, it's like that's like the number one that has been selling because of the value. And so you're paying for 5 sessions, you're getting the 6th one for free. But because we also added in an attachment release session, it's bringing the cost down to less than half the cost of a normal session. And so I would recommend that for anybody who really wants to transform their lives. You want to get me on the phone 6 times, you want to change your entire life, I could do it to you. I see it happen all the time. Even if let's say you're going through a lot of trauma and everything is falling apart, that's the best time to do it because we can remove a lot of that density and it'll allow you into a higher frequency range in which all the stuff that you need falls into your feet. I've seen it happen so many times with all my session people. This isn't all me because the star people come forward and they're the ones doing a whole bulk of the energetic clearing on you guys. So anyone who wants to level up very rapidly, come do a session. I got you guys. And so send me a message, send me any questions. We're also running a Valentine's Day special. So I knocked $100 off a regular Ascension session. This way, you guys, you can also stock up. So some people buy a couple of them. This way, the booking links, they don't expire. So I send them to you, and then you could pick whenever you guys want to have a session. So if you want to have one, wait a couple months, have the other one, it's fine too. And so you guys, use your intuition in these things. Saturday at 4:30 is a live. Friday at 4 is another live. Star People group is on Facebook. And so I've opened up a group chat. So everyone has already started talking to each other on there and introducing their names. And like the vibe is super, super happy and high vibe. So we're going to keep it like that. I've also opened up a WhatsApp message. So it's kind of like a community or a group. So you guys can join that. This way I have a way to message you guys. And so I could get you the information like, hey, I'm going live in an hour, right? Because you guys don't get the notifications when I go live for some reason. So I don't know if it's censorship or it's the Restream app or what it is, but this way I have a way to communicate with you guys and tell you. And then if you guys have questions, you can send them to me. I always write them down and I will shoot them off on the live. Yeah, thank you very much. I feel personally, I can't stand gatekeepers. And so I don't like people who hold back the spiritual knowledge because I like when I think spiritual knowledge should be given to everyone for free. Honestly, I don't think anyone should hold back. If this is your highest passion is talking spiritual knowledge, and do it until your heart screams. Right. And so, but it's okay. It's perfectly okay. Everyone can have their own experience and the gatekeepers can do what they do. But me personally, it's like, here it is. Right. And so that's why I take the videos. I tell you guys, store the videos, save them, download them, share them. Whatever it is you guys want. I also put 500 posts on Facebook. So if you go to DanielleLipton.com, this Danielle Lipton Facebook profile, as well as treeoflifeorganization.com profile. If you scroll down, there's 500 posts. And so, yeah, all the posts is like, it was my stepping stone to how I got here. So I had a problem and I would start asking the star people, why? right? And that's my famous line. Why? Why did I have this issue? Why did this happen to me? And then all of a sudden it was like, wham, here's a download. And then the second the download would come out, I would text it all out, and I would go right to Facebook and I would post it out for everybody. And then amazing stuff started happening, because then I started noticing, oh, I'm having this problem show up in my life, and then you guys are having the same exact problem in your life. And so now I started to see a reflection, and I have the information come through because you guys needed it. And the Star people said that was part of my job as a channel. I'm supposed to go through certain experiences to allow me to ask why, bring in the information, and broadcast it to the people. And so it's like, it's amazing. But there's 500 posts. And if you take a look at the post, it's a baby stepping guide to how to evolve in the 5-day. And it's intricate and it's just amazing. So yeah, welcome. Yeah, bring your headphones this weekend. Join the Zoom. So the Ascension Masterclass is on the Zoom. You guys will get to ask me questions. And we are going to go through any question that I've been asking Star people. And it's been nonstop. Right? So why? Why do we have to take a shower or a bath with salt? Right? Why do we have to do this? Why? How do we know the attachment? How do we know if it's just an emotion code or an attachment? And a lot of times, the Star people have told me, now I can sense different frequencies from people. I can tell your emotions, but I can hear it. I can feel it, and I can sense it. And so when we start to tune into the attachments, I have you cast it off 2 times. Then you take a breath in and out, and then you do it a 3rd time. I can listen and I can hear if it's off for you by the frequency and the tone of your voice. And so that's something that each and every one of us can do when we start to listen to each other more. A lot of times the technology, it makes it so that we're not able to fully hear or understand people because we're always distracted by the screen. So it's just amazing. How do you know what? I didn't really have a choice to get into the right mind frame to listen to the Star people. It was kind of like I had physical experiences, and then they would talk in my ear. So I knew that they would real, even though when they spoke, it was only a word at first. And so, but then I just started having conversations. So I felt totally crazy. And I was like, whatever, I've seen the UFO. I know that they're real. I knew that they were listening. Yeah, it was just wild. And so I've had experiences where, you know, I would start writing, actually. And my Starman's reminding me, he's like, in the beginning, you wrote a lot. And so I had a notebook. I had a huge notebook. And it had crystals on it. I think I showed you guys on one of the lives. And so I would just start writing. And then I wasn't able to keep up the writing because it was just coming too fast. So then I started audio recording it on my phone. And then all of a sudden, I realized it's so much information. So even now, to start people like, you have to go through and you have to just do the videos, because the videos, you're putting out all this information compared to writing one post, right? And your hand rub all over you? Yes. You want to take? Yeah. But it was kind of like they were knocking on the door. So this was a soul contract to have while I came in this life. Now, they also are making it very prominent. They're like, you need to tell everyone again, they want to talk to you guys directly. They do not want gatekeepers. They do not want a single channel speaking for them in time. They want each and every one of you guys to activate your own telepathy. They want you to talk to them. And so I know it sounds crazy to sit here and have a conversation and talk to them and feel like, well, I'm not getting anything back. How do I know they're really listening to me? How do I know that they're even here? That's okay. Keep talking to them because they are listening to you. They're 99% of the times they're in the room with you. They can see through time and space. They know when you're going to be like, excuse me, Star people, can you give me an answer? They know all this stuff. They can see it. They can sense it. They're connected intimately with all of us. So it's crazy, but just start having the conversation. If you don't feel comfortable speaking it, write it down. Write down your questions, blank out your mind, and just allow an answer to come to you, which was funny. That's called automatic writing. A lot of times we can do that with the higher self, but the extraterrestrials will be here. Now, the relationship I have with my Starman, he can physically take my pen and he can physically write. I'll try and battle him to get control of my hand back. No, he's more advanced, so he can fully take control and he can write out. There's times, you guys on the lives, you've seen me do this, where I'm about to say something and he's like, and he pulls the words out of my throat, or it's like, oh, right? And so it's because he's like, you can't say that. right? Or if I'm going all rebel mode, like, rah, and he's like, no, you guys have all seen this happen before. So they're advanced with their psionic abilities, which is what they call it. It's telepathy, telekinesis, teleportation. Like they have all these things activated. So, yeah. And well, I was talking to my guys for a long time, but I still felt alone. There is nothing better than touching human skin, right? Or getting a heart hug from someone. I have 2 little kids. One's 11, one's 9. So I'm hugging them. Like it's like every hour I do a power hug with them. I kiss them, I hug them, right? And so, but what would you do if you didn't have someone to hug you, or you were really alone, right? And so a lot of times, even as a mom, you get to feel alone, but that's because you don't have other adults to communicate with or have these types of conversations. So I knew all this information for a while now, but there was nobody up to my level to even have a conversation with until I started doing the lives, and I just started talking to you guys, and you guys actually like to hear me talk, so it's wonderful, right? But so what did I have to do though? I had to start just talking to the star people. Well, what about this? What about that? Writing things down, right? And so you have to realize it was a baby step process. We took a little bit of information, we put it out. I had to learn, I had to grow, I had to evolve. And then all of a sudden, a little bit more. And now we're bringing in all of the stuff. So it's wonderful. Excellent. Yeah, it's not going to be lonely for too much longer. And so there are big changes coming in 2023. 2023, the numerology of it too means spiritual gifts are coming. And so we can already see we're releasing density and we're pulling in new information. New spiritual gifts are going to be coming in. People who have been doing the work to unlock gifts. So I've been teaching people how to project their energy, and like you can move tin foil on a pin. We all can do this. Just send it love and light and just imagine it spinning. The tin foil in you is one. You are one organism. So everything in the physical reality is a part of you. So I am that. I am. And so we are every item that you see. So if we know that we are one and the same organism as the rock, the pebble, the crystal, it's us. We're looking at a mirror reflection of ourselves. Then it changes the way we think about it. And so when you feel like you are one, then it's inside of you, the frequency changes, which then allows you to perceive the external reality changing. That's how it works. So with that being said, many, many love and blessings. Thank you guys so incredibly much for tuning in. Can you tell me about wormholes? I was in one during a recent experience. Wormholes are real. And so a wormhole is kind of like a hole through time and space. The extraterrestrials can use their crafts to go through wormholes to do things like travel from point A to point B. That could be done. You can also travel through time and space. However, if I start in this moment and I go back in time, that becomes my future. So it's a little tricky when we're talking about wormholes and that level. A lot of times the extraterrestrials, they get to such a degree, most of the times they're saying they override the wormholes, so they don't really need to use them unless it's for like big ships, he's saying, or different, it's just different things. So, but they are able to blink in and out of the frequency and instantaneously teleport to their planet instantly. Now, when the UFO came over my backyard, I saw it come in, it would make a 90-degree turn and then it would disappear. And then it would come in again over there, and it was constantly making 90-degree turns and zipping over. I was crying hysterical that night. It was just a bad moment for me. And then all of a sudden I see this UFO in my backyard blinking in and out of the world. And they were there for me because I got so excited. All the tears dried right away. I was so excited. I went inside at the time to get my kid's father. And so he came out and they left. And I was like, oh my God, they were just here. You missed them. Right. And so then he's like, whatever, you didn't see anything. So he goes in the house. So the second he went in the house, they came back. And I sat there and I watched them for a really long time until they were done. So it was just wild. But like having an experience like that, it was like I knew that they were there for me. And now I know he's my star husband. It's wonderful. Yeah. So many, many love and blessings, guys. You have a wonderful night. So I believe Friday at 4 p.m. and Saturday at 4:30 is the next live. Saturday afternoon is the master attachment class. I said it wrong again. I don't know how many times I'm going to do this. The attachment master class. So have a great night, guys, and many, many love and blessings.